The terrifying reality behind school lockdowns is this. For some people inside, a drill is indistinguishable from the moment everything goes wrong. This is not abstract. It is sound, smell, the impossibly slow weight of silence. These are three real accounts from U.S. schools, moments when normal routines were ruptured and students, teachers, and staff were forced to become quiet actors in a drama they never auditioned for. If you want more verified safety stories and practical analysis, subscribe now. Story 1. A Friday calculus class turned nightmare. It was late in the afternoon. The teacher joked about the weekend, and someone passed a folded homework assignment across a row. Laughter. The fluorescent lights hummed. Then the loudspeaker crackled, and the dean's voice came through, clipped and urgent. Lockdown, lockdown. Everyone secure your doors. For a heartbeat, people thought it was a drill, until the power flickered and the lights went out. Silence fell like a physical thing. One student remembered, "We went from talking to being pinned by the sound of our own breathing." Phones dimmed. Behind the class, something pounded on the lockers, a frantic thud that could have been a fist or something heavier. A voice, male, furious, shouted down the hallway. It wasn't muffled, it cut right through the dark. The teacher turned off the projector, tugged the blinds down, and motioned for everyone to move away from the door. Students pressed themselves into corners, knees against a wall, hands over mouths. Someone started to cry softly. The banging moved along the corridor, went from locker to locker, then hit the classroom door with a force that made the latch shudder. The class held its breath. The dean's voice came back over the speaker, strained. "Stay where you are. Do not open the door." Those words were both order and promise, a promise that someone was trying to keep them safe. Minutes stretched. Later that evening, the dean announced there had been an assault at the front desk. Students were told a man had been on campus making threats. Some peers said they had seen him earlier. Others had heard rumors that he'd been found asleep in a closet with what people described as a large caliber firearm. That detail circulated among students as gossip and fear. School officials later reported a man had been discovered near the building at some point, but by the time police arrived, he was gone. The exact chain of events remained unclear to the class for weeks. One quiet sentence from a teacher summed it up: "We still don't know if he was found." The not knowing lodged into students' minds as stubbornly as the memory of the pounding. Story 2. Lunchroom panic and a neighbor who shouldn't have been near the school. It was a cloudy midday at the middle school. Trays clanked, chatter rose and fell, and a few kids were arguing over an extra cookie. Then 4 loud booms rolled across the campus. For a moment, some thought it was thunder. Then, someone in the cafeteria looked toward the windows and said, "That wasn't thunder." An administrator's voice ordered everyone into the multipurpose room and urged immediate lockdown. Adults moved fast. Custodial staff covered doors and taped sheets over interior glass. Teachers shepherded classes into tight clusters, knees on the floor, hands on heads. The silence was enforced in the kind of way that makes every tiny sound feel like an act of betrayal. One teacher later recalled how she could hear the paper of a flyer being creased across the room, a noise that sounded like a rifle cocking. Rumors spread, as they always do where fear lives. A neighbor had been seen near the fence. Students were told a man had been making threats and that police were responding. Some students later said the man had a history of instability and that he was reportedly on a registry. Others described earlier disturbing signs: graffiti with strange messages, a broken window, and, in one circulating account, an alleged act that had been described by peers as something written in blood. These details were passed around quietly and then loudly, labeled as what they were: reported, alleged, not confirmed. The school stayed locked down for roughly an hour before officials escorted students back to class. Relief arrived as fatigue. The rigid posture of fear gave way to exhausted talking. Tears traded like confessions. The post-lockdown discovery of prior warning signs left many feeling both relieved and angry, that the danger had been visible in small, ignored ways. Story 3. an intern hiding under a desk while a bullet ricocheted in the basement. I'll speak in the first person for this one because it was told that way by someone who was there. A 22-year-old intern who spent mornings in the school basement sorting supplies and answering phones. The office felt safe enough that day, a small space, a second-hand desk, posters crooked on the wall. But the office door had no proper lock, and the basement exit had a broken latch students had complained about for weeks. The lockdown announcement came during lunch. The intern ducked behind a filing cabinet and crawled under a desk. I thought, this is stupid. I'm too old to be hiding under a kid's desk, but I knew better than to move, he said. Footsteps shuffled outside. At one point, a stranger slipped into the room and crouched down on the other side of a shelving unit. He said he was a parent, out of breath, eyes wild. No one trusted him, but there was nowhere to send him. Then a text alert arrived on the intern's phone. An active shooter reported upstairs. The intern felt the building settle in a new way, like a breath pulled all the way in and held. Minutes later, a small metallic sound, a click, came from somewhere above the ceiling. A bullet that had struck metal and then fallen was heard as a dull ping, a noise that the intern described as the sound that broke my calm. That click made the basement feel fragile. The intern crawled toward the stairs and ran. Outside, police were already converging at the exit. Officers intercepted a man trying to leave the building. Mr. Buckley, a teacher who'd been in the hallway, had been shot but not killed. He survived and later returned to the classroom, bandaged, to tell students he was okay. The shooter, acquaintances said, had carried a long-standing grudge against a staff member. Motive, in the official reports, was called unclear. What the intern could not shake was the echo of that sound, the metallic ping that would haunt him every time a kitchen utensil struck a pan. It was a small sound with a permanent stamp on his memory. Across these stories are patterns that are hard to miss. The rupture of normal life happens in seconds. The building meant to hold children becomes a place to hold breath. Teachers, janitors, and administrators become the first line of defense, using whatever is at hand, a chair, a folded blanket, the simple decision to lock a door, to try and keep students safe. And yet, the same failures reappear. Doors that don't secure properly, windows that are exposed, exits with broken latches. Rumors and unverified reports spread faster than official information, and the presence of unstable individuals living near campus makes perimeter security feel like chasing shadows. 3 vulnerabilities stand out: infrastructure gaps that make hiding or securing spaces inconsistent, proximity of unstable or dangerous individuals to school grounds, and the breakdown between rumor and verified communication that leaves students believing worse or different things than what officials report. Those are not academic points. They are what people reach for when they later try to explain why the fear felt so total. Human responses under stress are also instructive. Where infrastructure failed, people improvised. A teacher who had never locked a deadbolt before learned in 1 second where the latch was and how to move a bookshelf to cover the door. A janitor, often an overlooked guardian of campus safety, walked silently across a corridor and, because he knew the building, checked rooms that the official checklist missed. Students, even young ones, became caretakers for each other, whispering comfort, sharing jackets, covering crying faces with cupped hands. Those small acts of care were as essential as any policy. Aftermath is a different kind of territory. The immediate danger may end, but the psychological fallout does not. Rumors morph into stories that fill the gaps left by uncertain facts. People replay sounds, the pounding on lockers, the 4 booms, the click of metal, until the replay is a form of punishment. Some students report insomnia. Others avoid school bathrooms or insist on staying in the open because being enclosed feels unsafe. Teachers speak of a new wariness when doors open. Parents ask for details that officials sometimes can't give. Communities demand explanations. Authorities try to balance transparency with investigative integrity. All of this happens while survivors try to return to algebra and spelling tests, carrying invisible wounds. It's crucial here to be careful about what we repeat and how we repeat it. Several elements in these accounts circulated as rumors: whether a person was registered on any list, whether a firearm was indeed found in a closet, whether a message was written in blood, and those details must be described precisely, as reported, as alleged, as unverified when confirmation is not available. That isn't hedging, it's accuracy and respect. It is also important to avoid the temptation to humanize the attacker beyond what helps us prevent future harm. Naming motives where none have been confirmed does not honor victims. It distracts from the real work, understanding vulnerability, supporting survivors, and improving systems. What then can we take away in a responsible, humane way? First, recognition. Lockdowns are not an abstract safety drill for everyone involved. For those inside, they can be minutes of paralyzing terror. That recognition demands we stop treating every alarm as an administrative checkbox and start treating it as a human crisis. Second, investment in the basics. Simple infrastructure, functioning locks, covered interior glass, redundantly wired communications matters. Third, attention to mental health and community warning signs. Many threatening events are foreshadowed by behaviors: unusual isolation, threats, prior disturbing incidents. That does not mean every unusual person is dangerous. It means systems of support and reporting must be robust and humane, able to intervene before escalation. Fourth, better, faster, verified communication from officials to reduce rumor-driven panic. People need clear, trusted updates in crisis moments. None of these are promises of perfect safety. No system can guarantee zero risk, but they are concrete, actionable priorities that focus on prevention, care, and accurate information. And they respect the dignity of survivors rather than turning trauma into spectacle. There are also moral responsibilities that fall to communities. Parents and neighbors can support youth mental health resources and insist on funding for school maintenance. Schools can review physical vulnerabilities without turning students into prisons. Law enforcement and administrators can be trained in trauma-informed communication so that the words used over a loudspeaker are calming and specific rather than cryptic. And communities can build support networks for those who show troubling behavior, because criminalization alone won't stop every tragedy. If you or someone you know was affected by a school lockdown, know that feelings of fear, guilt, and confusion are common and valid. Survivors deserve compassion, not suspicion. Teachers and staff who acted bravely deserve recognition. And the people who walked away from those school doors with a new sense of fragility deserve resources, not platitudes. Finally, remember the human scenes behind the headlines. The student who clutched a textbook like a shield. The teacher who used her body to block a doorway. The janitor who checked an unlocked closet. The intern who now flinches at the sound of a dropped pan. Those images are the true ledger of what happens when safety frays. This is the terrifying reality behind school lockdowns everyone must know. They reveal how quickly ordinary life can be broken and how much rests on small, dependable systems and quiet acts of care. We tell these stories not to inflame fear, but to demand attention, better policies, and more humane responses. Share this video to help raise awareness. Check the description for resources on school safety guidelines, mental health support, and hotlines to contact if you or someone you know is in crisis. We honor the survivors, the staff who kept children safe, and the communities that refuse to let these moments be forgotten.